It's an early weekday morning at the South Carolina Aquarium in Charleston, and Arnold Postel and his crew are making all the final preparations needed to move a 200-pound, 8-foot-long sand tiger shark from this tank to this truck.
There's always a potential for things to change in midstream, so it's really important to have one voice in the tank, one voice outside, and one voice in the truck so that someone is truly the lead.
Once in the tank, they wait for the shark to make a turn, then quickly get into position. With the fish securely inside, it's moving time.
1, 2, 3, up! Outside folks have it.
The shark is safely and quickly loaded onto the back of the modified truck. It joins 5 other sand tiger sharks picked up from different aquariums all over the East Coast, all on their way to this spacious reef exhibit at the Florida Aquarium in Tampa.
During the transport, sometimes when the shark's head is out of the water, they have a tendency to gulp a little bit of air, which can alter their buoyancy. Sand tigers control their buoyancy through air in the stomach.
The shark thrashes as the crew attempts to eject some air from its lungs.
So we just needed to insert a tube to take a little bit of the air out of the stomach so he'll rest a little bit more comfortably for the transport.
With the air out, the shark rests peacefully on the bottom of the tank. The transport crew makes some final water quality checks, then they hit the road. 450 miles later, we get to Tampa, and the Florida Aquarium staff quickly gets to work.
Right now what we're doing is little pre-move physicals. Essentially, we're getting measurements. We're getting length of the animal, the girth of the animal, and then we're drawing blood as well. We're scanning for a pit tag, or basically an identification chip that's been placed in the tissue of the shark.
Veterinarian Kathy Heim locates the dorsal vein. Blood tests can reveal how stressed the shark is, a major concern especially after long transports.
Sharks are very notorious for getting what's called lactic acidosis, which is basically a buildup of lactate in the blood, and basically that starts to shut down some of their body systems. And so we're really interested in how quickly that's happening and trying to negate the effects of that before it gets too serious.
After the physicals and more water adjustments, the sharks are ready to be moved. And they're not the only ones stressed out.
It'll be a little bit stressful just because it's hard to get these animals out of these tanks. And then we're putting them in a small tank on wheels and wheeling them around, and then we're putting them in a stretcher. And so we're going to be doing a lot to them, so it'll be stressful. So what we've done is, we've had a lot of preemptive discussions, and that way we all know what we're doing to try and keep the time as short as possible.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
The shark falls out on the ground. That's one of the worst things. And of course the other really bad thing is the thing we don't even want to discuss, which is if someone puts their hand in the wrong place and this thing snaps.
Have you ever been in a situation where someone's been bit?
Yeah, it's messy. You've seen the teeth on these things. They don't cut, they just tear. So it's really messy.
One by one, the sharks are loaded into the rolling tank for the final part of their journey. Each shark is weighed, then carefully brought into the water. This time they're given air to help maintain their buoyancy, then slowly released into their new home.
Once we get them transported up here to the exhibit, one shark at a time, it's important that we had divers in the water and we had folks on the surface and folks down here at the window to observe their every action.
The next few weeks are critical for the sharks, and the staff will continue to monitor their progress. But for now, it's a success. For Discovery News, I'm Jorge Ribas.